It is Mike and Derek here with America's New Clothes. How are you today? We got a lot to talk about.
Good afternoon, everyone.
One of a couple October surprises, at least to look at. We're trying to track all the events and sure we get them in and get some commentary on them. But of course, you can always join on chat. We have the chat while we're going here. So Derek, what do we got? The big news is the hunters being hunted, right? Hunter
Yep.
Biden, bringing all kinds of new information to the forefront.
Yeah.
Want to take a crack at it?
Yeah. No, I think it's very interesting that all this is coming out. Right now when it's obviously been questioned as to what his role was in Ukraine, and did he use his name for to gain favor and increase his worth, being that he has no energy experience whatsoever. So yeah, that's the big story. Of course, all of his personal stuff that seemed to go along with it. The question of how did Rudy Giuliani get this information, and did he pay for it, and all this other stuff. Well, they're not denying that the information is factual. It seems, right? Twitter and Facebook are through their censorship.
We knew before the impeachment that he was getting $83,000 a month, right?
Yeah, correct.
And so the bombshell is now that the bombshell was the email that said, "Thanks for introducing me to your father."
And spending time, right? And spending time together, right?
And then there's something else as part of the stuff that was retrieved that says Dad was getting half of that 83,000, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was something in there. Yeah, and then of course, and again, as we learned during the impeachment thing as well, obviously, is that the quid pro quo was Joe Biden saying, "We got $1 billion for you, but you got to get rid of this guy." And I forget what his actual quote was, but he was like, "Wouldn't you believe it?
Son of a gun."
He was, yeah, son of a gun. He was fired. Yeah. So
it was $1 billion loan guarantee.
Right. So the pay to play has been in play, as we've all known for a while. There's been reports, obviously, that, how did he get $1.5 billion out of China? So that was the story that broke today. So yesterday was Hunter in Ukraine and crack pipes and prostitutes. Today was, Hunter in China, but it also ties to leaving 10, meaning I guess 10 million for the big guy. And the big guy is either the big guy in the sky or it's Joe Biden, right? So
when you refer to your dad as my guy, you're doing something nefarious.
Exactly. Right. So, and the appalling thing is that, the story probably actually gained more attention because it was censored, because now everybody's saying, wait, well, what is this then? Right.
Right.
So, to talk about living in, in a fascist state, why censor the truth? If it's bogus and it's crap and you're going to easily be able to poke holes in it, don't you want everybody to see it so that you can say, go on Cuomo and go on all your CNNs and MSNBC shows, or even Fox News, and say, this story is crap. Yeah, and refute it. And they're not refuting the story. They're refuting us to, why didn't this go to Congress or go to the FBI? Well, it did go to the FBI. But, the other telling thing is it shows you talk about the elite of the elite. So he left a MacBook or an AirBook or whatever at this computer technician's place and never picked it up. Right? Yes. They called and he never picked. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I take my MacBook in to get fixed, since I paid $1,700 for it, I'm going to make sure to go pick it up.
I know where you got a MacBook for $1,700, but we can take that offline.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, well, the fact that he, for everybody who's like, hey, leave Hunter alone. He's got a crack problem. It's a serious addiction. Sure. That's fine. That's,
right.
Sure. That's off limits. It definitely calls into question some of your character, but this idea that now I guess today's allegations are 30 million upfront for introductions only, right? That's the China deal.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, this thing smells.
Yeah.
This thing stinks to high heaven.
Yeah. And, looking on social media, now they're attacking Donald Trump Jr. and, whether or not, 6 days ago or whatever, he kind of went off the rails supposedly. And now they're calling into question, whether or not he's actually the one on drugs. I mean, it's just.
What do you mean he went off the rails?
I guess he supposedly he let his dad know that he shouldn't have done the drive around Walter Reed, and that it was ridiculous and it's going to cause all this pushback or whatever, which it did from the left. And so, they're questioning whether or not he's having some type of meltdown now that the pressure of the Trump's losing the White House is going to, has affected him mentally. And he's like, what am I going to do now? Right. I can't grandstand as a Trump in the White House. Now I've got to deal with all the fallout that's going to come from, not being, part of their first family. So, I mean, again, their mental meltdown is it's in full display for everybody. So I think tonight's going to be interesting on to cover the big tech censorship, because, obviously Trump's going on NBC News for his town hall at the exact same time that Biden is. And, if Biden's not asked about big tech censorship, about his story with Hunter Biden, it just is, it just shows they're in the tank for him and they're not going to even talk about it. Trump, I don't know if he'll be asked about, Kayleigh McEnany being, having her Twitter account suspended or blocked. The Trump campaign
for the leader of the free world.
Yeah, and the leader of the free world's campaign page got taken down. And the New York Post, right? New York Post, I didn't realize this till today. It's the longest standing newspaper in publication in the country. It goes, Alexander Hamilton. If you look at the actual head, the page, the front page of the New York Post, Alexander Hamilton's there. It goes back that far. He actually, I think, helped found the paper. So, for them, for now, everybody to come out and, hammer those guys and block the links to the story, and Facebook and Twitter was not shy about saying they were going to do it, right?
On account of hack materials, right? They changed their service, their terms of service in 2018 to if materials were obtained through hackery or through Giuliani going to the laptop shop,
right,
then that gives them grounds to censor this. Of course, no mention of BuzzFeed circulating the dossier stuff,
right,
and Maddow releasing ill-gotten tax returns.
Right.
For them, it's all Machiavellian if it's part of their story, but if it's a story that's against them, they're not keen on it.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
It's America's new clothes, right? They're being exposed, and we're the only one. People like us are the only ones calling them out on it. Their side's definitely not going to call them out. So you're hoping that the fence sitters, the ones out there now that are the quote unquote undecided voters, or maybe those soft Democrats, are now saying, all right, hold on a second. Right. Is this the way it's going to be for the next 4 years if I vote for this guy? Right. And I can tell you it is going to be, right? If they're doing it now and you're up by 12 points, supposedly in all these polls, they're absolutely going to block information from you going forward. That's just, it's common sense. So, but I think, that then plays into, the Osama bin Laden thing, which I think is what you wanted to talk about next, if I'm not mistaken. So, you take that and, give us your thoughts on that.
Well, we know the story, right? That SEAL Team 6 went in, May 2011. Got Osama bin Laden. It was a big trophy kill for the administration, or the Obama administration at the time. And
all of us applauded it. Right. All of us were saying, hey,
sure.
I don't care who gets credit. That's
10
a fantastic
years in the making, right? This was almost a full 10 years after the September 11th attack. And we had already engaged into an Afghanistan war and an Iraq war, that was predicated on this, rise of Al-Qaeda, and some sort of retribution for September 11th. So, we have this belief, and we believe this to be totally on the up and up. And now, and we have a guy, Rob O'Neill, who's out there saying, I fired the shot. We were concerned that, if you were able to get him in this compound in Afghanistan, how come you weren't able to, take out his security and bring him to real justice, not giving him giving him a last stand and shooting him down. We were further curious at the time because they didn't retrieve the body. Regardless of how this kill happens, you want people to have a proper Islamic burial or whatever their religious customs are.
Right.
and to say that this body was at sea, clearly not shot at sea. So
Right.
really strange. This didn't seem to add up. And so now, what are we finding out? We're finding out that it's quite possible that he was sequestered in Iran, and it was a known thing to our intelligence,
Right.
and that for some reason we were either that maybe part of the Iran deal was a hush payment to not tell us that he was there,
Right.
or that we were waiting for this opportune time to have him move to Afghanistan, to a place where we could have this, quote unquote trophy kill. But
Right.
my question is Osama bin Laden still alive?
Right. Yeah.
Is this guy, did we just shoot a body double and, we've been had?
Right.
I think, the kinds of things that are coming out, the crazy story of the Falconer.
Right. Yeah.
What do you make of it?
I mean, again, like you said, we all applauded, when bin Laden got taken out. Not too long after, obviously, Biden came out and said it was SEAL Team 6 that did it. Ironically, they get shot down in a Chinook helicopter, one of the slowest moving helicopters. 17 of them, I think, were on board. It's Extortion 17, I think, is what people can search to find.
Yep.
And they got shot down with a Stinger missile that just happened to be trafficked through Benghazi. So it ties into Benghazi. And guess who was running that mission at the time? Hillary Clinton. So, it's that type of stuff is very interesting. It shows that a level of deceit and corruption, if true, that just defies logic, right? But for me, when I hear the story of the Falconer, right, and I've looked at the videos, right, I've heard the audio tapes and read the transcripts, and if you're gonna push a false story, where do you come up with a Falconer to do it? Right. I didn't know what a Falconer was. I didn't know you actually still hunted with falcons. So, but I guess Al Qaeda and people in the mountains of Afghanistan and Pakistan still do that. Supposedly, the royal family in England still do it. So why are you going to bring out a Falconer to push a story like that if it's not true?
Right.
And he again, if you listen to the audio, he sounds credible. He's got Kurt Weldon, I think, a former congressman, who says that his daughter's, house was raided by the FBI. You had Brian Ettinger, who was Biden's defense counsel or attorney for Biden. I think there's going to be some more to that story coming out. I think we're going to be able to figure out really quickly whether or not it was true or not. But to see O'Neill go on after having his story questioned by SEALs in other reports back in 2012 or whenever it was, he came out and wrote the book. But whenever he came out saying he was the shooter that shot him in the head, and SEALs that didn't want to be named said, "Look, I'm not saying he didn't shoot him, but I don't want to say he did the kill shot." And I don't know. I just don't understand why a SEAL would come out and do that and take all the credit and basically leave your other companions right, just kind of flapping in the wind like they didn't do anything. And I think Robert O'Neill, from what I've read in the past, he was a very last second add to the SEAL Team 6 raid. The radar goes down, we fly in, then radar's up, I guess, or whatever. Obama supposedly tries to kill it and say, nope, we're not going to do that. And they say it's too late. And that was Biden, Brennan, Annetta. Yeah, Obama didn't want to do the raid.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that, if you think about it, remember, Biden is the one that claimed he was against the raid originally. What this guy is saying is that Biden was actually for the raid, and he was actually one of them that oversaw it, right, and schemed behind them. And the $152 billion was, well, I guess what the story is, right, is they went in, extracted him after it had already been agreed that we were going to go in and capture him and extract him. Iran went in, pulled him out. We went public with our story that we shot and killed him, when supposedly a woman on site was saying it was a body double. It's a body double, like in Farsi, I guess. Don't kill him. It's a double. And then we run with the official story that we killed him. Iran says, "Hey, we know you didn't. We have him. We're going to blackmail you, right? If you don't give us our $150 billion, $152 billion, and drop these sanctions," which obviously we did with the Iran nuclear deal. Supposedly $2 billion of that comes back to us to pay off families, right, or congressmen, senators, people, whatever, that knew of what was going on. Yeah, right. And now the logical question then is, if there's that many people that know, it can't be a cover-up. Somebody's going to leak. Well,
right.
I mean, I don't find that to be true, because we know how the deep state works. We've seen the body count from the Hillary Clintons, right? If you do speak, you're dead. So I question whether or not everybody can stay quiet. At the same time, if $2 billion came back to pay people off, I can understand why people would remain quiet.
So this audio conversation between the Falconer and Kurt Weldon, as he's picking up Edinger from the airport. What's the timing of that? That's post May 2011.
Yeah. So the timeline is Osama was killed in May of 2011. In January of 2011, allegedly, right? January of 2011 is when these conversations were taking place. From what the Falconer says, there's going to be a lot more that's coming out, but at least the original transcripts and audio, right?
From what we've heard, with the last name of Parrott.
Right, exactly. I thought that was kind of odd too. Right?
Alan H. Parrott. People should definitely check it out. It's super interesting. I did not know the overlap between falcons and Arab culture, and these birds are so priceless.
Right.
You actually pay for the trainer to bring you the bird.
And what we should
not for sale.
Right. And what we should do is link in our YouTube or whatever that Vimeo hour-long video or whatever that is about him, because it's just extremely interesting.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, so I don't know. I just think that the story is definitely going to get more play. I think it should, right? And censorship of it is going to happen, of course, because they don't want you to know. But again, if it's a bogus story, then don't just refute it. Say, look, this guy's a whack-a-mole, like you said, and let it run its course, right? I mean, the thing is that we as Americans are smart enough to, with common sense, to figure out something really quickly and be like, okay, that's not right. That doesn't sound right, or it's got some legs to it. We don't need the media telling us what to and not to believe. So I think it's important for everyone to understand. Go do your own research, look into this stuff, right? Don't just take CNN's word for it, or don't take Fox or Breitbart or whatever, but just tie the pieces of the puzzle together on your own. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like there's been plenty of people on, there's flat earthers, there's people who deny the existence of dinosaurs.
There's people who still think we didn't land on the moon.
Out there, and nobody goes after them.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, it's like we posted yesterday on the Facebook wall, when the lady doth protest too much,
right,
get really curious. And so the degree in which they're trying to whack-a-mole these stories is getting, citizen journalists and just regular folks that are, sitting there at their Google prompt, trying to suss some of the stuff out to find it. And you're simply not going to be able to contain it.
Well, and highlighting that, going back to the Hunter thing, Hunter Biden, his laptop was given to the FBI back in late 2019. So as we went through this whole impeachment sham, right, Trump Russia collusion, or whatever, we know now they had this laptop tying Biden to Ukraine, and obviously now China and everything else we're going to find out. So Christopher Wray,
irony of impeaching him over his very interest in finding out what the he said, somebody should look into that. That's very concerning.
Right. Yeah.
And in fact, that's the thing that's blowing up here in October.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah. We could have gone through if he could have been exonerated from some of these allegations. We wouldn't even have gone through this whole bit. So what, I know we wanted to touch a little bit on election integrity, and you had forced, or you had found. Tell us the story of what we think's going on in Minnesota with Ilhan.
Yeah, so a guy named David Steinberg, who for I guess weeks or whatever has been investigating and been up there looking into all this. How Omar got over here, right? Did she do it legally or illegally? And then into her
or something.
Yeah. and then into vote buying and stuff like that. Project Veritas broke a story last week or 2 weeks ago about it, but I guess Steinberg is the one that's been on the story back since July. So a lady took to Facebook in July. She had run as city council or been elected to city council, but then she had basically stopped running, right? And so what she was finding out is she was going door to door knocking, and specifically in the Somali, she's Somali, so specifically in the Somali elderly community, they were saying, great, hear you, understand what you're saying, but do you have $200 to buy my vote? And she's on camera for like 10 minutes. She's on a 15-minute Facebook thing, but she's like the first couple minutes, she's not speaking at all. And then she starts pleading, saying, we have to stop this, but $200 per vote. And she dropped out of the race. And so she went and was talking public about this, I guess, in the Somali community. And Keith Ellison, who's the AG of Minnesota, who will probably end up being in the Biden campaign, as most people have talked about internally with them, because he's a far left radical.
Yeah, he's a Democratic Socialist of America.
Yeah, and his daughter's an Antifa member. He's proud to, he holds up the Antifa handbook in a picture. He sent her a 2-word text, and that text simply said, "Shut up." So if she's not speaking truth, why do you target her and intimidate her? She's one of yours, right? She's a Somali immigrant. She's in Minneapolis. She was the Minneapolis Democrat fundraising director in Minneapolis. So it's not like this woman is some bogus person just came out of the woodwork, like they're claiming Veritas tracked somebody down, paid them $10,000 to tell their story, and so they're trying to make that story be falsified, saying it's falsified. It's hard to tear this woman down. She was an elected councilman. She had run for council several times. She was like I said, the Democrat campaign fundraiser director, and her story now is public. So, I mean, all the crookedness going on there, and David Steinberg says the State Department and the federal election, they have everything. We've sent them everything. Why they're not doing anything is another question. So,
all right. Well, I mean, that's going to be key. I just simply don't understand how all these registrars of voters are going to be able to handle people who got a mail-in ballot, send in the mail-in ballot, and then they can just feign ignorance and come in and vote in person as well.
Right.
Easy way for anyone to double their votes, and back to the Machiavellian consequence of which there will be none.
Right.
I just think that's going to create a terrible problem with our election. And I think it's startling that we saw the Rupert Murdoch saying that Biden is going to win in a landslide. Rupert Murdoch, of course, the founder of Fox
News.
And for him to say, and specifically based on his handling of the coronavirus. Which again, I mean, we've hashed this over and over. What would you do? What would you do differently? We're not seeing any different plan that than what the Trump administration.
Right. I mean, everything that Biden says he would have done, Trump did it before he said it. Right. Or it was in the task force action plan already. So either the action plan was leaked and then Biden said, "Oh, this is what I would have done." Right. It's like, well, dude, that was already part of the plan. But again, to finish up there on the COVID-19 stuff. Now, this was interesting. So COVID versus flu. Usually the flu starts breaking out like week 38, 39. So we should have been into the flu season. We're into the flu season now. So as of last week, there was 976,000 COVID-19 tests being performed per day. So if you count that up or whatever, and 5% was the estimated or the concluded, according to the CDC data, the positive cases were 5%. Now, WHO claims that if you're at 5% or above, that's when it gets very concerning for them, because it means that the virus hasn't run its course yet. So, and we've been below 5% for basically the whole summer. So now we're up to 5. Now, the interesting part of that is so 341,000 cases out of 979,000 per day being done, 341,000 total. The flu had 7,923 tests done last week and only 17 positive cases. We usually are averaging 2.6 as a baseline for positive flu. It was 1.1% last week. So again, harping on, I mean, not to say that COVID-19 isn't a virus that's affecting people, but essentially Trump cured the flu. There is no flu anymore. So it's just, I mean, he didn't.
Misallocation in some way.
Correct. So, and if you spin the COVID-19 test enough, you will get dead cells that are going to turn a test positive. And they keep spinning this until they get it. Even the guy that invented the PCR test said
he's right here in San Diego, Kary Mullis.
Yes, Kary Mullis, and he said it was not meant to be used. He won the Nobel Prize. Yeah, and he said that his testing was not meant to be used for a coronavirus. So we're applying
random RNA strands that are in
correct
your bloodstream and dead.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a fiasco, and people need to wake up. Again, you don't want to say that, and make it sound like you don't feel bad for the people who lost their lives. I mean, clearly that sucks. It's terrible.
Absolutely.
But again, what is the real comorbidity rate that's affecting those deaths, and what's the real deaths from just COVID-19? We know that CDC tells us that, but if you say that, you're heartless, right? And everybody's like, oh, you don't care about the people that are dying. Well, we're the only country in the industrialized world that tests or that claims that if you died with symptoms, even though you may have never been tested, you test are positive, or you are assumed to have had COVID-19, you're classified as a COVID-19 death. So
yeah,
in reality, and when dark to light, when this all comes out, I think people are going to be blown away at the lies they were told, and that they gave up and sacrificed their freedoms for. It's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah,
so that's all. And that's all. Yeah, that's all I got. So.
All right, man. Well, I'm glad we got on today. Everybody, thanks for watching, tuning in. We want to follow up after tonight's dueling town halls. Not really a debate. Maybe there'll be some sort of interaction. Maybe Trump could have Biden's could be streaming it from his phone and responding. Right. We would love to see a head-to-head commentary, and I hope NBC and ABC do a good job of actually getting some substantive ideas and thoughts out of the candidates. So we're going to try to come back tomorrow. Come back with Price, with some other stuff, and share with your friends, and anything we need to talk about, let's get into it. And if you need any help doing your own research, pointing you in the right direction, we are here for you. We are America's New Clothes, where we expose the naked truth out of the strange meandering of the news these days.
That's right.
All right, thanks, Derek. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
And
thanks, everyone.
Check you guys a couple more times this week.
Yep. Cheers. Happy Thursday. See you guys.
Happy Thursday.